Imagine a group of people who have been trapped in a cave since they were children. They are tied up in a way that they can only look at one wall. Behind them, there is a fire. When objects pass in front of that fire, their shadows are projected onto the wall. To these prisoners, the shadows are the only reality they know. Now, imagine one of them breaks free and goes outside. He discovers the real world, the sun, the trees, and the rivers. He realizes that the shadows in the cave were just illusions. When he returns to the cave to tell the others about the beauty of the world, they don't believe him. They think he's crazy or a liar. They are so used to their shadow world that they might even hurt or kill anyone who tries to change their thoughts.
Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today our guest is one of the greatest philosophers in history. Let's welcome Plato, and welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. We brought you here today because we want to learn everything about your life and your ideas and how you became one of the most influential thinkers in human history.
My name is Aristocles. I was born in Athens in 428 BC into a wealthy aristocratic family, well known all over the city.
Wait, what's your real name? Isn't it Plato?
Look, my real name is Aristocles. Plato is actually a nickname. As a young man, I was quite handsome and very muscular. I had a really strong physique. I even used to compete in wrestling, and one reason for my success was my broad shoulders. In Greek, the word for broad is Platon.
Okay, so from Platon to Plato, basically, and your name just broad shoulders.
Exactly. But wrestling wasn't my only passion. I was interested in many fields like math, rhetoric, poetry, and music. I actually loved poetry and wrote many poems and plays. I also had political ambitions. I wanted to hold a high position to make a real impact.
Wow, so you had all this talent and potential to succeed in all of those, yet you chose philosophy.
Yes, but sometimes one person enters your life and completely changes your perspective. In my youth, I met a man named Socrates. I was so influenced by his ideas and learned so much from him that from that moment on, I dedicated my entire life to philosophy.
Exactly, we call Socrates is the father of all philosophers. And by the way, guys, the previous video was with Socrates. If you want to know who he was, go check that out and make sure you subscribe, and let's continue with Plato.
Yes, back then, everything seemed perfect. I was a young, ambitious man with so much potential, and my teacher was Socrates. But nothing lasts forever. In my 20s, Sparta defeated Athens and appointed 30 rulers over the city. They became known in history as the 30 tyrants because of the killing and destruction they caused in just a few months. Eventually, the people of Athens revolted, got rid of them, and brought back democracy. But when the Democrats returned, they were even more strict and hostile toward anyone with a differing opinion. They took very harsh measures. And so, in 399 BC, they put Socrates on trial for his ideas and unjustly executed him. I fell into a state of deep grief.
So what did you do? Your city was ruined and your mentor and idol was dead. How did things go after that?
After all the sorrow and suffering I witnessed, I decided to leave Athens. For 10 years, I traveled to many places, including Sicily and Italy. I even visited Egypt, where I studied astronomy. The ancient Egyptians were incredibly advanced in stargazing and geometric calculations. Anyway, I settled in Syracuse in modern-day Italy and made friends close to the government. The problem was the ruler of the city, Dionysius. He was a tyrant, unjust, and with terrible ideas. I kept criticizing his policies until he grew tired of me and sold me in the slave market.
Plato, the greatest philosopher, actually became a slave? What happened next? How did you get out of that?
Yes, but I didn't stay a slave for long. Fortunately, a friend of mine recognized me, bought me, and gave me back my freedom. After all those adventures and years, I returned to Athens and settled there. I managed to buy a modest plot of land and used it as a school to teach people about the magic of philosophy.
And that might be one of the first universities in history. What did you name it?
The local hero of the city at the time was named Akadamos. My school took its name from him and became the Academy.
So the word academy, which is used in almost every language today and recognized by every educational institution in the world, started with your school. Nice.
Yes. I spent the rest of my life at that university teaching philosophy. I was able to graduate many great philosophers and thinkers who changed the world's way of thinking, leaving a massive impact on humanity.
Exactly, and including Aristotle, who will be our guest in the next video. But even after you passed away, the academy remained the primary intellectual center of Greek civilization for centuries. Many historians consider it one of the first universities in history.
If the universities that came after me learned anything, I hope it is this. Education is not about putting sight into blind eyes. It is about turning the whole eye toward the light. In the academy, we didn't just feed students dry facts. We trained their souls to break free from the shackles of the cave so they could see the truth for themselves. But tell me, what is the state of education and universities in your era? Do these students truly leave their classrooms as free people? Or have they simply replaced the shadows of my cave with other, more complex shadows?
Universities today don't always represent who we truly want to be. Getting a job and money, and people stay trapped in that cycle for the rest of their lives.
In my time, we believe that anyone who dedicates their life solely to gathering money is living at the lowest level of the soul, the appetitive soul. If the goal of a university is only a job, then it doesn't liberate the mind. It simply teaches a person how to be a submissive slave to the economic system. True education must free the soul from the slavery of material needs.
We want to hear about your political views and your vision for the whole republic. Can you tell us about your ideal republic and the core idea behind it?
First, when parents raise their children, they pass on ideas, gods, and traditions from the past that may be full of flaws. Therefore, to build an ideal state, the first thing we must do is take children from their parents and let the state raise them. The state would put them through a rigorous 20-year educational system to produce civilized people who are loyal to their rulers.
But isn't that a bit harsh?
Yes, but I didn't mean cruelty. I meant purity. Parents, driven by excessive emotional love, pass down their prejudices, greeds, and superstitions. They teach the child to love family more than truth or country. To build a just state, the ruler, the soldier, and the worker must be brothers in spirit, not just by blood. When the state raises the child, the entire society becomes their family.
But who guarantees that the state itself won't corrupt them? I mean, how do you protect those children from becoming mere tools in the hands of a tyrant instead of free philosophers?
The state, I mean, is not a state of orders, but a state of universal laws. Education for 20 years and 15 more of practice is not for brainwashing. It is to lead the mind to see the form of the good. Once a person sees the sun, the absolute truth, they will never accept returning to the shadows. A ruler who becomes corrupt is someone who has lost their vision and returned to being a prisoner in the cave. And at that point, they immediately lose their legitimacy. And after those 20 years, there is an exam for all students to test their physical and mental abilities. Those who fail become laborers, craftsmen, carpenters, and bakers, the professions the city needs. But those who pass go through a new, harder stage of education for 10 more years. After that, there is another mental and physical test. Those who fail become soldiers to protect the city and maintain order. Those who pass enter a final 5-year stage, focusing on logic, philosophy, and law. And after they pass this final stage, we throw them into the street.
Huh?
Yes. Those who pass this strict 35-year educational system are put in the street. Even though they have great mental and physical skills, They haven't been tested by life. So we make them live among the people and work for their living to see their performance on the ground. After 15 years of real-world work, meaning when they reach the age of 50, these successful ones are appointed as rulers.
But why all this training? And in our world, anyone can become a ruler and things just work out.
I trained my rulers so strictly because I wanted them to carry massive responsibilities. In my ideal city, I see laws as unnecessary because they are rigid texts that might not fit the details of every case. Therefore, I didn't set a constitution. Instead, I gave my rulers absolute power without any laws to restrict them. But because such absolute power must be in safe hands, I added more restrictions. They are forbidden from marrying, having relationships, engaging in trade, or owning any private property. This ensures there is no way to corrupt them or ruin their judgment.
And
Women
what about women?
Are just like men. They enter our educational system together. Those who succeed become rulers, soldiers, or workers according to their level. It is complete equality between men and women. I was one of the first thinkers in history to equalize the sexes, which was very strange, considering Greek civilization deeply undervalued women. But it seems a person can transcend the ideas of their own culture.
And I know there are many more harsh and strange things about the
Yes.
Republic.
The story of our city doesn't end there. It has a dark and shocking side. I didn't want freedom of expression. I wanted the state to control everything: speech, ideas, art, books, poetry, religion, and education. The state decides the official religion and how to worship. Anyone who disagrees or becomes an atheist faces severe punishment, even death. The state also decides which arts are allowed. Paintings, stories, and poems are all subject to the state. Anyone who crosses the limits faces exile or execution.
But art, poetry, why? And regarding your greatest teacher, Socrates, he was executed in Athens on charges that corrupting the youth and not believing in the cities of gods. Now, your ideal city, you are setting the same law, so...
Socrates annoyed Athens because it was an ignorant city that thought it was wise. He was smashing their idols to lead them to the truth. In my ideal city, Socrates wouldn't need to smash idols because the ruler himself would be Socrates. The laws there are not built on the superstitions of priests, but on the logic that Socrates spent his life trying to reach. In my city, Socrates wouldn't be a stranger. He would be the standard. As for the arts, I didn't ban all art. I allowed hymns that glorify the gods and poems that praise true heroes. I allowed music that encouraged calmness and order, like the Lydian mode. To me, art must be a servant to truth and education, not a master that plays with people's minds. You are now in the age of the image, cinema, and songs that fill everywhere. Tell me honestly, hasn't art in your time become a way to numb people and distract them from thinking about real issues? Don't you notice that people imitate movie heroes in their trivialities more than they imitate sages in their silence?
Okay, I won't dive deeper in this topic because I don't know if your republic works on everyone or not, but let's go back to your philosophy and the allegory of the cave.
The essence of truth lies in our realization that we live in two worlds, not one. What your eyes see and your hands touch now is nothing but a faint shadow or a distorted reflection of a higher and more permanent truth. Imagine you are looking at a tree in autumn. You see it wither, its leaves fall, and then it dies. Is this the real tree? No, because truth does not perish or change. The tree you see is just a physical imitation of the eternal form of the tree that exists in the world of the mind, that world which is untouched by time or corruption. Everything beautiful in our world, whether it's a beautiful face or a blooming flower, is beautiful only because it shares a small part of the absolute form of beauty. In our daily lives, we run after shadows, thinking that gathering money or gaining power is the goal, while in reality, these are just chains pulling us to the floor of the cave and preventing our souls from remembering. Here, the story of the cave stands as the truest expression of the human condition. We are all born with the chains of habits, traditions, desires, and ready-made opinions tightening around our necks, forcing us to face a wall of illusions. We see moving images in front of us. We call them success, failure, or happiness, and we spend our lives competing over who can analyze these images faster than others, while the truth lies right behind our backs. Real education, my friend, is not stuffing your mind with information about these shadows, but a painful and courageous turning around of the entire soul. When a person begins to question and doubt, they begin to break their chains and turn toward the light. At first, the truth will burn you, and the light of the sun, which is the form of the good and the primary source of everything, will blind you. You will wish to return to the comfortable darkness of the cave where there is no thinking or effort. But if you endure and begin to see things in their true light, you will realize that your whole previous life was just a deep sleep.
I want to ask, if the world of forms is perfect and constant, why does this imperfect and changing material world exist in the first place? Why were our souls imprisoned in the cave if they belong to the light?
The soul did not fall merely as a punishment. It fell because it lost its balance between reason and desire in its original world. The wings of the soul grew heavy due to its longing to experience the material world, so it descended into physical bodies. But this fall is not the end. It is a great test. Our existence in the cave is an opportunity for the soul to long for the light. Without darkness, we would never know the value of light. We are here to learn how to distinguish between the false and the real, to refine ourselves, and to return to the light with a deeper consciousness and greater majesty. The core of my philosophy is that the soul is a stranger in this body. It always yearns for its true home in the world of forms, where it once saw truths bare and unveiled. Philosophy is the journey we take to regain that insight and to liberate the mind from the prison of deceptive senses. And when a person reaches that summit, they do not have the right to stay there enjoying the light alone. Instead, they must descend again into the cave, back to those who are still fighting over shadows, to try and wake them up, even if they meet him with mockery or hostility. True justice is only achieved when our lives are ruled by the ideal rather than interest, and when we are led by reason instead of desire.
Wow, I feel you touched my soul. Thank you, Mr. Plato. Thank you guys for watching, and see you with another great mind. Don't forget to subscribe to see our news.